March 12th, 2004, Denton, Ohio. A contractor renovating a 1970s ranch-style house just outside of town makes a routine cut into an old drywall. But what he finds inside isn't routine at all. Inside the wall cavity, wrapped in decaying plastic behind a rotted wood panel, a single dust-covered VHS tape. No label, no markings, only one word scratched into the plastic casing: Siege. Police were called. The house belonged to the late Harold Kinsey, a retired high school science teacher. Died 2 years prior. No criminal record, no known family. But the tape told a different story. Detective Linda Crane, Denton PD, 2004, reads from the report. The footage appears to be home recorded. Color distortion and tracking issues present. Initial timestamp, June 8th, 1993. First frame shows a young girl, approx. 12, sitting silently on a basement floor. The girl never speaks. She stares into the lens, eyes unmoving. The camera never shifts. 1 minute. The camera never shifts. 1 minute. The voice. Stillness, then a voice. Off camera. Male. Calm. Unmistakable Midwestern accent.
You're gonna be good for the project, okay? Just like the others.
The tape cuts to black. Investigators freeze frame the girl's face. No matches in missing persons databases. No school yearbook matches from the region. Facial recognition. Inconclusive. The case hits a wall until a retired neighbor, 81-year-old Dorothy Halperin, contacts the department. Says she remembers a girl. Came to the Kinsey house often in the early 90s.
Quote, quiet kid, blonde, always looks sad, never saw her leave.
Kinsey's past is reopened. His employment records show a 12-month leave in 1993. Reason listed as personal family matters. No further explanation. No documentation of relatives. Detectives pull permits and property records. They discover something strange. Kinsey had applied for a soundproofing remodel, specifically for the basement. Invoices show heavy padding materials. None of it was ever inspected. Crime scene techs return to the house. They peel away the basement drywall. Behind it, more tapes, 7 in total. All wrapped, all marked with a single number, 1 through 7. Tape 2, another girl, younger, different hair, same stare, same basement, same voicemail, same voice.
They don't understand you like I do.
6 tapes, 6 girls. None speak, none cry, none move. Tape 7. The last one, timestamp, July 5th, 1993. Footage opens not in the basement, but in the woods. Camera shakes. No faces, just breathing, rustling. A shovel. Then, a sudden stop. The screen goes black. White text appears. Type. Monospaced. Just 4 chilling words. They are still here. A statewide forensic dig begins. Cadaver dogs search Kinsey's 14-acre property. Small fragments are found. Buttons. Child-sized shoes. Scraps of fabric. But no bodies. No identities. No resolution. The case goes cold again. But then, 9 years later, 2022, a woman in Topeka, Kansas, files a DNA inquiry with a private genealogy group. She was adopted in 1995, has recurring nightmares, a basement, a camera, a soft male voice. Her DNA has a partial match to fibers recovered from Kinsey's basement.
The woman's name is being withheld. She refuses to speak publicly, only gives one statement to Denton PD. He said I was the last one, that the others were gone. I thought I dreamed it all.
But if she was the last one, where are the others? Who were they? And what exactly was Kinsey's project? FBI archives show no federal investigations connected to Harold Kinsey. No ties to known offenders. No clear motive. No paper trail. And that final line, they are still here. What did he mean? Are they still buried? Or worse, still alive? The Kinsey tapes remain in federal custody. Most of the footage has never been released to the public, not even to the families of local missing children, due to what officials call extremely disturbing content. To this day, the identities of the girls on the tapes remain unknown. No arrests were made. No bodies were found. But one thing is certain. The tape hidden in that wall, it changed everything.
As the tape circulated quietly among law enforcement, stories began to surface. Whispers from those who once lived in the shadow of the Kinsey house. A neighbor, voice trembling, recalls, "I used to hear things late at night. Sometimes it was crying, sometimes it was laughing, but it never sounded right. My husband said it was just the wind, but I knew it wasn't." A retired teacher who once had Kinsey as a substitute remembers, "He was polite, sure, but he asked a lot of questions. Odd questions about the kids' families who picked them up after school. I mentioned it to the principal, but nothing ever came of it." Another resident, voice firm and skeptical, "All this talk about Kinsey, I never saw anything strange. He mowed his lawn, waved at the mailman. People just want a story." Yet another neighbor, eyes darting to the floor. "There were visitors. Always late, always different people, sometimes vans, sometimes cars with out-of-state plates. They never stayed long." A former student, now grown, hesitates before speaking. "I remember the basement door was always locked. He said it was for storage, but once I saw him carrying something heavy down there. He got angry when he saw me watching." But then, a local shop owner offers a contradiction. He'd come in for groceries, nothing out of the ordinary, but he bought a lot of bleach, always bleach. And finally, an elderly woman who lived next door for decades. "I heard a girl screaming once, called the police. They said it was a fox." Each statement layers suspicion upon suspicion, yet the contradictions linger. Was Kinsey a monster hiding in plain sight, or the victim of town gossip and paranoia? One witness, her voice barely above a whisper, offers the final word. "Whatever happened in that house, some things are better left buried. But I still see lights on sometimes, and Kinsey's been gone for years." The truth, it seems, remains locked behind closed doors, and every new answer only deepens the mystery. The investigation files, long sealed, contained hours of police interviews. Now for the first time, we hear the words spoken behind closed doors. What follows are select excerpts, their tone as chilling as the facts they reveal. "Detective, you said you left the Kinsey house at 9, but Mrs. Carter saw your car parked outside until midnight. Can you explain that?" Suspect, voice shaky. I must have lost track of time. I was just helping him move boxes, that's all." Detective, 3 hours to move boxes? Suspect, he kept stopping to make calls, told me to wait upstairs. Detective, who did he call? Suspect, I don't know, he closed the door. Detective, you said you heard voices in the basement? Survivor, soft, almost inaudible. Yes. Sometimes he talked to someone, sometimes he talked to himself. Detective, and the missing hours on March 12th? Where were you? Survivor. I don't remember. Everything after dinner is gone. Detective, gone how? Survivor, voice breaking, like it was erased. Detective, why did you withdraw $5,000 the day after Kinsey disappeared? Suspect, I don't have to answer that. Detective, you're not under arrest, but you are a person of interest. The money, where did it go? Suspect, quietly, I can't say. Detective, we have surveillance footage. You were at the house that night? Suspect, voice rising. I already told you, I was never there. Inconsistencies pile up. Timelines blur, witnesses forget or choose to forget. And then, the final transcript, a conversation between detectives. Detective 1, this doesn't add up. The tapes, the statements, someone's lying. Detective 2, Or everyone is. Orders came down, we're supposed to drop it. Detective 1. But, sound abrupt tape distortion, the recording cuts off mid-sentence. The record ends there. Was it a technical error? Or something more deliberate? In the shadows of the Kinsey case, even the truth seems to vanish without a trace. The search of the Kinsey house had been exhaustive, or so everyone thought. But months after the investigation had gone cold, a new team of forensic experts returned, determined to find what others had missed. In the far corner of the basement, behind a false wall, they uncovered a narrow doorway, sealed with rusted nails and layers of old paint. Inside, the air was thick with dust and secrets. The flashlight beams revealed walls covered in strange, hand-drawn symbols, circles intersected by jagged lines, cryptic numbers, and words written in a language no one could identify. Scattered across the floor were dozens of yellowed notes, each more unsettling than the last. It watches. The clock is wrong. Don't trust the mirrors. The writing is consistent with Kinsey's, but there are subtle differences, like someone imitating his hand. The symbols, they don't match any known code or alphabet. Some are reminiscent of occult sigils, others are just nonsense. Or maybe meaning we haven't yet unlocked. In the center of the small room stood an old, dust-covered trunk. Inside, investigators found a single, pristine photograph. A picture of the Kinsey house taken from the outside. But in the window, where no one lived at the time, was the unmistakable silhouette of a figure, blurred and impossibly tall. The photograph was dated 2 years before the Kinsey family moved in. This image shouldn't exist. The negative is genuine, the print is unaltered. And yet, the house was empty, abandoned when this was taken. Whoever or whatever is in that window, we can't explain it. As the camera lingers on the photograph, and the strange symbols flicker in the flashlight's beam, the sense of dread grows. The new evidence doesn't bring answers. It only deepens the darkness at the heart of the Kinsey case, suggesting that some mysteries are never meant to be solved. The Kinsey house sits empty once more, its windows reflecting nothing but the moonlight and the overgrown lawn. Authorities lock away the photograph, the notes, and the trunk, hoping the darkness will rest. But then, weeks later, a delivery arrives at the police station. No return address, no fingerprints. Inside, a VHS tape. The footage is grainy, time-stamped for the present day. The camera moves through the Kinsey house, tracing the same path the investigators took down the stairs, past the false wall into the hidden room. The symbols are fresh now, drawn in wet ink. And on the trunk, a new note. Whoever watches becomes part of the story. As the tape ends, the screen flickers, and for a split second, the tall, blurred figure from the photograph appears in the reflection of the camera lens. The timestamp glitches. The date rewinds. It's as if the house itself is caught in a loop, drawing in anyone who tries to uncover its secrets. The evidence is no longer just in the past. The mystery is alive. And somewhere, someone is still watching. The final shot lingers on the house, its windows dark until, in the upper pane, a shadow moves. Some doors should never be opened. A forgotten cassette, buried in an evidence box, is unearthed by chance. The label reads, Statement, J. Miller, 1993. The tape crackles as the voice begins, uneasy, reluctant. I was working the night shift at the gas station, just down the road from the Kinsey place. The witness stammers, words barely above a whisper. It was after 2. Dead quiet. I looked up and saw figures, 3, maybe 4, moving real slow along the edge of the Kinsey yard. Not talking. Not walking right either. Like they weren't really touching the ground. The visuals flicker. The Kinsey house shrouded in darkness, shapes slipping between shadows, close-ups of wide, frightened eyes darting to the windows. I thought maybe it was kids messing around. But then I saw. One of them stopped, turned toward me. Even from that far, I swear I could feel it looking right at me. My skin went cold. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't move. A pause. The witness's breathing quickens. I never told anyone, not really. Who'd believe me? But after that night, I always took the long way home. I never looked at the house again. The tape ends with a shaky exhale. The screen lingers on the Kinsey house, its silhouette silent and watchful, as if listening to the confession. For a moment, a faint outline shifts by the upstairs window. A reminder that some stories never fade, and some witnesses never sleep soundly again. A new piece of evidence surfaces this time, not a forgotten tape but a police transcript. The setting, the local precinct late at night. The station is nearly empty except for a pair of detectives, their faces lit by the blue glow of a desk lamp. On the desk, a phone receiver sits off the hook. The audio waveform pulses as a distorted voice fills the room. Dispatch. County Police, what's your emergency? Caller. You're looking in the wrong places. The tapes, they're not all you'll find. Dispatch. Sir or ma'am, can you identify yourself? Caller. Names don't matter. You think you're close, but you're not. You're only seeing the surface. Dispatch. Are you in danger? Are you referring to the Kinsey investigation? Caller. You need to stop. If you keep digging, you'll find things you can't put back. Some things want to stay hidden. Dispatch. Can you tell us who made the tapes? What's on them? Caller. The tapes are warnings. Not all are meant for you. Some are meant to keep others out. If you listen too long, you won't leave either. They watch who listens. Dispatch. Please, we need your name and location. Caller. Stop, before it's too late. The detectives exchange uneasy glances as the line goes dead. Over the image of the phone's blinking light, the words echo. Some things want to stay hidden. The room seems to grow colder, the shadows deeper. The investigation, it seems, has only just begun to reveal its darkest secrets. The story takes a darker turn beneath the floorboards of the Kinsey basement. Under a rotting shelf, forensic teams uncover a heavy, dust-caked metal box secured with a rusted padlock. The camera lingers on gloved hands, the click of lock cutters echoing in the silence. Inside, the contents are laid out methodically. The first item, a series of Polaroid photographs, each image blurred and off-center. Faces are obscured, some by shadows, others by deliberate scratches across the film. The backgrounds are familiar: the Kinsey home, the woods behind it, a playground at dusk. In each frame, a child's figure appears, always distant, always turning away. Next, a bundle of coded notes. The paper is yellowed, the handwriting cramped and hurried. Numbers and symbols replace words, some pages flecked with what looks like dried blood. A close-up reveals one note, a crude map of the neighborhood, marked with cryptic X's and strange looping arrows. The final item, a single blood-stained child's shoe, size 3. The camera holds on it, the stain dark and unmistakable against faded canvas. No names, no explanations, only more questions, each artifact a silent witness to something unspeakable. As the box is sealed back into evidence, the sense of unease lingers. Whatever happened here, it was never meant to be found. The story now turns to a voice from the past. A woman, her features softened by the shadows of a dimly lit room, her eyes rimmed with sorrow. She introduces herself only as Emily, her hands trembling as she clutches an old, faded photograph of 2 girls laughing on a sunlit playground. Childhood photos flicker across the screen, carefree days swings twisting in the breeze, a carousel spinning in slow motion. Emily's voice cracks as she recalls, "She was my best friend. We shared everything, or at least I thought we did." Her gaze drops to the photo, thumb tracing a smiling face. But that last summer, something changed. She started meeting people in secret, grown-ups I didn't know. She'd come back quiet, eyes darting over her shoulder. The screen flashes to grainy playground footage, children's laughter echoing, then abruptly silenced. One day she pulled me aside and said, "Promise me you'll never go near the Kinsey house. Promise me, Em, no matter what." She looked so scared I didn't understand, but I promised I wish I'd told someone. I wish I'd tried to help. Her voice trails off, thick with regret. I thought it was just a game. I never saw her again after that summer. The scene lingers on Emily's tearful face, then fades to a blurred image of the playground. Now empty, swaying in the wind. The silence is heavy, the weight of unspoken warnings and lost childhoods hanging in the air. The screen cuts to the stark, clinical coldness of an interrogation room. Harsh fluorescent lights cast sharp shadows across the table, where a middle-aged man, disheveled, eyes darting, sits wringing his hands. Across from him, a detective leans forward, voice low and insistent. "Detective. Audio, distorted for privacy. Let's start again. How did you know the children who disappeared?" The suspect glances at the mirrored wall. A close-up reveals sweat beading on his brow. He hesitates, voice barely above a whisper. "Suspect. I just fixed things around the Kinsey place. Electrical, plumbing. They called me when the lights went out." "Detective. And the night of June 14th, you were seen near the property. Why? A clock ticks loudly. The man's breathing grows shallow. Suspect. I heard crying from the basement. I thought it was just the pipes again, but his voice cracks. I saw them, the children, but not like before. They were different. Their eyes. He buries his face in his hands, voice muffled. Suspect. Kinsey said it was just a game. He paid me to stay quiet. But it wasn't a game. They never left that room. The detective's pen stills. The silence is punctuated only by the relentless ticking of the clock. Detective, what did you see in the basement? A single tear slips down the suspect's cheek. Suspect. There was a door behind the furnace, one that shouldn't be there. I saw Kinsey go through it, with the last girl. And then... He shudders. I heard them whispering, but it wasn't her voice anymore. The camera lingers on the suspect's haunted expression, close up on trembling hands. The footage blurs, the ticking of the clock echoing as the screen fades to black. A confession, or another layer to the nightmare. The truth, it seems, is buried deeper than anyone imagined. A battered diary, its pages yellowed and fragile, is discovered beneath the warped floorboards of the Kinsey house. The words inside are shaky, desperate, each entry a window into a fractured mind. Hidden for decades, Harold Kinsey's diary unravels the tangled roots of his guilt and sorrow. Each page reveals a man tormented by memories, by the ghosts of choices he cannot undo. June 12, 1993. They say the house is cursed, but it's me. I tried to keep the darkness out, but it found a way in. I never meant for any of this. I wanted to protect them from something worse. As detectives and survivors pore over the diary, harsh truths surface. The survivor's hands shake as she reads aloud, tears welling in her eyes. He wasn't the monster we thought, but he wasn't innocent either. Kinsey's final entry reveals a secret, one that changes everything. The girls, he writes, were never meant to disappear. He tried to lead them to safety, but the house had other plans. The truth is more complicated than anyone imagined. Guilt and redemption, woven together in the faded lines of a forgotten diary. A voice from the past steps into the light. You think Harold acted alone? You don't know our family. We were taught to keep secrets. Some things you never escape. As the detectives dig deeper, a hidden network emerges, one that may have enabled the crimes for decades. The timeline shifts. What once seemed clear is now tangled in a web of silence and complicity. Birth certificates, faded letters, and a map with red strings connecting names. Detectives opening a locked chest, uncovering coded ledgers, and piecing together a family tree riddled with blacked-out branches. Harold tried to break the chain, but the chain was bigger than him, bigger than any of us. A new truth comes into focus, one that points to a conspiracy far beyond Harold Kinsey. The detectives must face the possibility that the real story has only just begun. The air is thick with years of secrets. The former neighbor sits beneath harsh fluorescent lights, hands shaking, eyes rimmed red. Detective Crane leans forward, voice steady but relentless. Across the table, the survivor woman's gaze is unwavering, haunted, but strong. Flashbacks flicker, fleeting images of the neighbor watching from behind curtains, silent in the shadows as unspeakable acts unfold. Doors closed, phone left off the hook, the chain of silence. Back in the present, the neighbor's voice cracks, confession tumbling out like a dam breaking. I was afraid. I thought if I stayed quiet, it would all go away. You let it happen. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. A beat of silence. The weight of years presses down. Close up on the survivor woman. A single tear, then a deep breath. She stands, turning toward the door. For the first time, she pauses and the light from the hallway spills in, illuminating her face. For the first time, the truth is spoken aloud. The burden of silence is shattered, and the families, though forever changed, can finally begin to heal. In the aftermath, justice doesn't erase the past, but it opens the door to something long denied: peace. The door closes gently behind her, echoing through the empty room. Outside, the survivor steps into the light. Her past acknowledged, her future at last, her own. Soft rays of sunlight filter through the trees. The survivor woman stands quietly before the old Kinsey house, the weight of the past heavy but no longer crushing. She kneels, gently placing a single white flower on the worn front steps, a tribute to the lost girls, to innocence stolen, to voices finally heard. With the truth revealed, the shadows that once haunted these walls begin to recede. The pain remains, but it is no longer shrouded in silence. Neighbors gather in the park, hands clasped, candles flickering in the morning air. Faces are somber, but there is unity, a shared promise to remember, to do better, to protect one another. A community mourns, but together they begin to heal. Grief has forged a bond stronger than fear. Detective Crane sits at his desk, closing the thick case file for the final time. He gazes out the window, sunlight spilling across his face. His expression is weary, but resolute. For the detectives, the case demanded everything: sleepless nights, heavy hearts, and the courage to face darkness head-on. Justice, though hard-won, brings the first glimmer of peace. The survivor woman stands, breathing in the cool air. She turns away from the house, shoulders lighter, steps steady. As she walks down the path, the camera lingers on the house. Once a place of secrets, now quiet, bathed in gentle morning light. The story ends not with vengeance, but with hope. The past remains, but the future is unwritten, and for the first time it feels bright.